reaction to the governor?
I thought it was an excellent speech. I thought the governor spoke to the people, not at the people, and he spoke intelligently, without any frills, just right down the middle, telling people what the choices are. And I think he raised all the important questions. He said to Democrats, you've got to step up and make the level of cuts that we have to make. And then he said to the Republicans, please do not deny the people the right to vote on whether or not to extend taxes for 5 years or to double those cuts to $25 billion. And I thought he did it in as clear a way as possible. I thought that his reference to Egypt and Tunisia was especially pointed and poignant, because here people around the world are struggling for the right to vote in free, fair, democratic elections. And why would anyone stand in the way, especially when there's so much at stake here for the people? Over the next weeks, we'll begin to have a more detailed discussion about what an additional $12.5 billion worth of cuts means, and whether or not, again, anybody would want to deny people the right to say, well, we'd rather extend the sales tax for a few years instead of see X number of weeks lopped off the school year, or we'd rather see a limited extension and not see college fees rise even higher. After all, fees are just a tax increase by another name. And so I think that his style, his tone, and just the way that he has framed the question is the right one. And never overconfident, but remain confident that we'll get some Republicans to come on over and see that this problem is bigger than any one of us as individuals. It's bigger than any party. It's about California, and we have a chance to put this fiscal crisis behind us and begin working on all that's positive about California. Build a green economy, build a clean energy economy, to focus on education and healthcare and criminal justice. So much positive to do here. Let's get this behind us.
And he also threw out a challenge to those that don't like his budget.
He did. He said, "Look, if you don't like it, come forward with an alternative." And as I said to a number of others today, the real problem here is that the minority party is so scared of the right wing that they're afraid to put pen to paper and to actually come up with a concrete list of ideas that would serve as the basis for a discussion, negotiation, and that would have them say, yes, we're willing to give people the choice. They have some wins here that they could accomplish, but it's a matter of crossing that threshold and not letting the minority of the minority kind of rule the day. But we'll see.
Well, I think as he did throughout the course of the campaign, Governor Brown is telling it like it is. We have a lot of great ideas and a wonderful vision for the future of California, but first things first, we have to get our fiscal house in order. Well, the budget reality is exactly as he's put it. It's a bunch of hard choices. It can either be the hard choice with the support of the voters to extend the current temporary tax increases, or it can be much tougher decisions if the voters don't approve, or if we're unable to put the question before the voters in June. But in either case, if we make the tough decisions now, then as early as next year, we'll be able to have a rebuild California conversation, and not a conversation where we're constantly stuck in budget gridlock.
It was great. It was somber, but it was great in terms of its authenticity and its honesty. And that's what we need right now. We need authentic calls for action and solutions to our tough problems. And the honesty is the most important thing. Well, we've already had a lot of time through the budget process to see some of the ideas fleshed out. So as to new ones, no. But I think the tone and the opportunity here, where you've got so much of the media here, is he used it. And he used it to tell Californians what they already know. And that's that we're in trouble and we need serious people making serious decisions.
Well, I thought it was very straightforward and brutally honest, actually. What I really admired was the governor saying that we need to have both vision and discipline. Discipline to get through our terrible fiscal crisis right now, and yet the vision to understand what California can be and will be again. Well, I think what's most difficult is something that's very difficult for all people in the state of California, and that is the cuts that we're taking to education, from kindergarten all the way through university. And the governor was very clear that he wants to keep universities in California world-renowned, the way that they have been in the past. And he was also very clear that he wants to keep providing a solid education for kids in K through 12 schools. So that's going to be the challenge, though, going forward. And I think that cuts to education as a whole are very difficult for everybody in California.
Well, I thought it was a very good speech. I mean, I think the governor was giving us a blueprint to get out of this mess, and I think it was very good. The reality is that we have to make some very difficult decisions, and we're going to have to make them. We're going to make them. And I also thought it was important for him to say there is light at the end of the tunnel. It's not like it's all doom and gloom and California's going to fall into the sea. No, it's just the opposite. Our best days are ahead of us. I thought that was important. We will negotiate with him, however, on some of the cuts. You know, he says let's get some opinions that are better than ours, and we have some opinions. We're going to come forward with them. One of the things I thought was funny, I mean, the back and forth with Republicans, I thought that was very positive, Jocelyn, you know. It was a very human touch. I'd been here before when Governor Schwarzenegger was here. It's very imperious, you know, and this is what you will do. This is, as opposed to, no, you know, come, let's work this thing out. Let's be together. It's for California. I thought that was a breath of fresh air. That was very nice.
I mean, I thought the governor laid down a challenge to the legislature. And in that challenge, it will be a determination of whether or not we can come together and get this done. There clearly were a lot of details left out, and I think that as any legislator knows, the devil is always in the details. You know, I could say I probably like the vast majority of it, and I accept the challenge of getting a budget done that, you know, performs the core services and recognizes the need that we have to include the people in the decision making. Well, again, the devil really becomes in the details. And there were a number of things that I think will be challenging. And I also accept the part of his challenge where he said, if you have better ideas, bring them to me. Because I think that there are a number of other things that can be done and perhaps should be done in terms of both revenue and those services that we eliminate.
I think it was right on. Like this governor, he's telling you exactly what is going on in California, being pragmatic, no candy coating, and tells you, you know, California is a great state, reminds us that people come here to follow the American dream, to pursue the American dream. Yet at the same time, we're going through some very hard times, which means we have to recognize the challenges and we have to make the sacrifices. He outlined some of the cuts we have to make, the extension of the taxes. At the same time, when it came to the cuts, you notice that he didn't talk about cuts across the board. He talked strategic cuts. He's going to preserve those things that made California great. For example, education. Make sure that we have a future there in terms of educated workforce. At the same time, he talked about senior citizens, making sure you don't cut vital services to them. But he also recognized that we do have to make some sacrifices. We are the greatest state and the greatest country in the world. Yet we're in that crossroads right now that we have some risks and opportunities. The risks are that if we don't make the right decisions, we'll go from being the 8th largest economy in the world to maybe the 15th largest. If we do things right, we're going to regain our luster. California can regain its luster as a golden state. So this is a time to act, and I like the fact that the governor came out and made that as a fact. We've got to act now.
I think it was very positive. I think the governor has a plan to help us get out of this economic, budgetary mess we find ourselves in every year. He's talking to us in a very brutally honest way, but he has a path for us to escape this annual situation where we're looking at these deficits that just move from year to year. And I think the best part of his speech was he clearly has been talking to people throughout the state of California, and he understands that people want to be part of solving this problem. And so he's put together a plan where the voters have an opportunity to make decisions with regard to whether we make cuts or whether we extend taxes on the books so we can do things like preserve our educational system. And I think that really gives people an opportunity to be very hopeful about the process, and it gives people the opportunity to trust the process because they are being asked what they think, and they're asked for their opinion and to weigh in on this. And that's the democratic way.
Well, he certainly was brief and to the point. He stated that voters need us to be decisive, not divisive, at this time of crisis, and that given this acknowledged divide between the two parties, that, in his words, we should have a legislative check-in with the voters, that voters definitely should have the ability to express their opinion as to what the future of the state should be. We know that there are some Republicans who are reluctant to even let the voters speak. I think that's a rather indefensible position. I just heard John DeCupal of the Howard Jarvis Group saying that voters weighed in on this 2 years ago. We don't need to have another election, which makes me wonder, what is he afraid of if the voters do have a say? And that if you follow that logic, every 2 years voters determine we should have Democratic majorities in these two houses. Should we never let the voters speak again? It's an indefensible position. But then the governor pointed out in his closing comments that the future is bright. This is a $2 trillion economy. We have all the innovation, imagination, creativity, entrepreneurial spirit that's made the state the 8th largest economy in the world. We've got a bright future, but we've got to get through this now. And he also laid out what the future could look like if either we don't get to the ballot or that voters decide not raise a tax, maintain current tax levels for another 5 years. Clearly, K through 12 education will suffer greatly, as will access and affordability to higher education. Our public safety institutions, police, sheriff, will see their budgets cut. And of course, health provision and our social services will be cut as well. Californians, what do you want your state to look like? Even more importantly, do you really want the Republicans to determine that no, you will not have your voice heard? They've decided it for you.